Prince Harry and Meghan Markle stepped away from the royal spotlight entirely to protect their family, yet somehow their most fiercely guarded secret has just become the biggest global scandal of the decade. For years, the world watched them build a carefully curated image of a modern, authentic fairy tale in California. They controlled every camera angle, every interview, and every polished narrative. But overnight, the conversation has violently shifted. We are no longer talking about palace feuds or Netflix deals. An explosive new wave of claims has hit the internet targeting the very foundation of their new life, the true origins of Archie and Lilibet. The rumors are dark, the theories are relentless, and the silence coming from their multi-million-dollar mansion is speaking louder than any official statement ever could. But that wasn't the whole story. To understand how this fire started, we have to look at the man holding the matches. Tom Bower is not a late-night internet conspiracist. He is a veteran investigative biographer known for dismantling the polished facades of the global elite. When he speaks, power players panic. His latest revelations have thrown the Sussex narrative into an absolute tailspin. Bower has publicly suggested that the public story of Archie and Lilibet's births might be entirely fabricated, hinting at closely guarded surrogacy secrets and a massive orchestrated cover-up surrounding the Portland hospital. He claims that what the public was fed contradicts what was actually happening behind closed doors. This isn't just a whisper about a fake baby bump or a blurry photograph. This is a direct accusation that the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, alongside top-tier public relations teams, actively deceived the world about the royal bloodline. And when a claim of that magnitude drops, the public doesn't just read it and move on. They mobilize. And what happened next would turn the internet into a full-blown crime scene. Almost instantly, social media transformed into a global detective agency. People who previously had zero interest in royal protocol were suddenly staying up until dawn, cross-referencing timelines and analyzing old footage frame by frame. Digital sleuths began pointing out details that, when stacked together, felt entirely too strange to ignore. They pulled up the famously vague birth announcements that lacked the traditional doctor signatures. They scrutinized the missing hospital steps, photo op, the bizarrely guarded christenings, and the shifting narratives about when and where Meghan actually went into labor. Supporters of the couple dismissed it as toxic gossip, but a massive growing faction of the internet started connecting dots. To them, the perfectly staged pregnancy photos suddenly looked theatrical. The timeline of Meghan's physical appearances just didn't seem to add up. When you place all these anomalies side by side, the official story starts looking less like a documented reality and more like a Hollywood script. But the real shock comes when you look at how this is tearing the couple apart from the inside. Behind the massive gates of their Montecito estate, the atmosphere has reportedly turned incredibly toxic. This was supposed to be their sanctuary, a sun-drenched haven where they could heal and thrive. Instead, insiders paint a grim picture of a home gripped by paranoia and high-alert damage control. Prince Harry, the man who famously championed mental health and emotional balance, is allegedly unraveling under the crushing weight of the scrutiny. Reports claim he is pacing the halls, relentlessly scrolling through comment sections and watching his own credibility burn in real time. It is a tragic irony. The royal who walked away to save his sanity is now drowning in an anxiety-inducing storm he cannot control. Every public appearance he makes lately feels incredibly heavy. His smiles look strained, his posture defensive. He looks like a man carrying a secret that is getting far too heavy to hold. Yet while Harry spirals, Meghan is playing an entirely different game. Instead of crumbling, the Duchess has reportedly gone into full tactical mode. She is not offering tearful explanations or raw emotional interviews. Instead, she has unleashed a relentless barrage of legal muscle. Her teams are reportedly firing off cease and desist warnings, pressuring media outlets, and attempting to legally suffocate the story before it breaches the mainstream news cycle. But this aggressive strategy is backfiring in spectacular fashion. It is the ultimate real-world example of the Streisand effect. By fighting so aggressively to bury the conversation, Meghan has essentially signaled to the world that there is something massive worth hiding. The public's reaction was immediate and merciless. People are asking one very simple, devastating question. If these are just wild, baseless internet lies, why panic? Why not just produce the proof, laugh it off, and shut the critics down forever? The harder she tries to legally bind the narrative, the more guilty the silence feels. And right when they needed an ally the most, their own family turned their backs. You might expect Buckingham Palace to step in and squash rumors about the king's own grandchildren, but the silence radiating from London is absolutely chilling. There have been no statements of support, no subtle gestures of unity, and absolutely no pushback against Tom Bower's claims. Compare this to Prince William and Catherine. Their children are constantly woven into the visual fabric of the monarchy. We see them laughing with King Charles participating in historic events and grounded firmly in the family legacy. But Archie and Lilibet are completely ghosted by the institution. There are no recent photos of them with their grandfather. Birthdays pass without the standard warm royal acknowledgements. It is as if they have been quietly, deliberately erased from the official royal frame. Royal insiders whisper that this is not a petty family grudge. It is a calculated strategy. The palace operates on self-preservation. If there is even a fraction of truth to the surrogacy claims, the monarchy is ensuring their hands are clean. Because what is at stake here is far bigger than bruised egos. To understand the sheer panic behind these rumors, you have to understand how the monarchy actually works. The crown does not survive on popularity. It survives on the absolute, undeniable legitimacy of its bloodline. The line of succession is a sacred legal and historical contract with the public. If Harry and Meghan utilized a surrogate, or if the biological ties are not exactly as they claimed on official documents, it is not just a personal family matter. It is a constitutional crisis. A child not born of the body cannot legally hold a place in the line of succession. If the palace suspected any foul play, their eerie distance makes perfect, terrifying sense. They are building a firewall. Every title, every royal perk, and every shred of historical relevance Harry and Meghan cling to would evaporate overnight if these rumors were proven true. They wouldn't just be disgraced royals, they would be exiled frauds in the eyes of history. Which brings us to the ultimate, inescapable crossroads. The public has grown exhausted by the PR spin, and the demand is no longer for a polished statement. The internet is screaming for a DNA test. It sounds incredibly invasive, but when you have built a brand on absolute truth and transparency, refusing to provide the one piece of evidence that could clear your name is a terrible look. Harry and Meghan had countless opportunities to kill this rumor in its infancy. A single verified medical document or a shred of genuine transparency could have ended it years ago. Instead, they built a fortress of secrecy, and now those walls are caving in. The world is watching to see who blinks first. Will the pressure finally break Prince Harry, forcing a confession that shatters their Californian empire? Or will Meghan's legal firewall hold up just long enough for the public to lose interest? The clash we are watching unfold isn't just a family disagreement. It is a full-scale war between two completely different worlds of crisis management. On one side, you have the centuries-old machinery of Buckingham Palace. Their strategy is legendary: never complain, never explain. It is a terrifyingly effective tactic built on the idea that engaging with a rumor only gives it oxygen. By remaining completely silent, the palace starves, the scandal making any accuser look desperate while the crown remains untouchable. But over in Montecito, Meghan Markle is running a very different playbook. She is relying on the classic aggressive Hollywood defense. When a scandal hits an A-list celebrity, their team immediately deploys an army of fixers, threatening lawsuits and firing off aggressive denials to crush the story before it spreads. But when you try to apply Hollywood tactics to a royal-level mystery, the gears completely jam. The public doesn't view Harry and Meghan as just another celebrity couple. They are globally recognized figures tied to a historical institution. When a Hollywood star threatens a lawsuit over a rumor, people shrug. When a Duke and Duchess threaten legal action simply because the internet is questioning a hospital record or a timeline, it triggers global alarm bells. It looks less like boundary setting and much more like panic. Meghan's aggressive pushback is colliding violently with the palace's absolute silence, leaving the Sussexes completely isolated on the battlefield. And those aggressive legal threats might just be a smokescreen for a much bigger, more urgent problem. The corporate clock is ticking. When Harry and Meghan stepped away from royal duties, they traded the sovereign grant for the cutthroat world of corporate media. They signed massive multi-million-dollar deals with giants like Netflix and Spotify. But those corporations didn't hand over mountains of cash for podcasts about generic charity work. They paid for access. They paid for the exclusive behind-the-scenes reality of the rogue royals. The industry expectation was clear trade, the mystery of the monarchy for highly lucrative personal content. But here is the massive roadblock threatening their entire empire. The ultimate currency in the influencer and celebrity world is family life. Yet Harry and Meghan have locked their children in a vault of unprecedented secrecy. This creates a brutal financial paradox. They need to remain relevant to keep the corporate checks clearing. But the one thing the public actually wants to see their reality as a family is entirely off limits. Industry insiders are whispering that executives are growing incredibly frustrated. You cannot sell a raw, authentic documentary series while simultaneously refusing to acknowledge the massive swirling controversies regarding your own children. The Sussexes are walking a corporate tightrope. If they continue to hide Archie and Lilibet completely, the public loses interest and the media deals dry up. But if they finally bring them into the spotlight, they open the floodgates to the very scrutiny they've been fighting so desperately to avoid. This relentless need to hide the kids has birthed a psychological phenomenon that no one saw coming. We can call it the paradox of the invisible children. There are plenty of massive A-list celebrities who successfully protect their kids from the paparazzi. Ryan Gosling, George Clooney, and Adele all managed to keep their children completely out of the tabloids. But they do it naturally. They don't shroud their existence in bizarre secrecy, missing hospital photos, and cryptic announcements. Because Harry and Meghan have turned the privacy of their children into an impenetrable, heavily guarded fortress. They have accidentally turned Archie and Lilibet into the internet's greatest unsolved mystery. Human psychology dictates that the more intensely you hide something, the more desperate people become to find it. By refusing to release casual, normal updates and by treating every mention of their kids like a national security threat, the Sussexes have weaponized the public's curiosity against themselves. Casual royal watchers who normally wouldn't care about a royal baby are now completely captivated by the sheer oddity of it all. It feels unnatural, and the public can sense it. Every blurry photo they do release is instantly ripped apart by digital forensic teams. Is the hair color right? Do the timelines match? Why is the child's face always turned exactly 90 degrees away from the lens? The extreme secrecy didn't protect the children. It turned them into the focal point of a global conspiracy theory. For Harry, though, this isn't just about PR or media strategy. It's a battle against the ghosts of his past. Whenever Prince Harry is backed into a corner, he pulls out the one shield that has always protected him, the memory of his late mother. For years, the public deeply sympathized with his trauma. The image of a young boy walking behind that casket is etched into the global consciousness. Harry has repeatedly framed his extreme actions, leaving the country fighting the press, hiding his children as a desperate attempt to prevent history from repeating itself. He portrays his current situation as a life-or-death struggle against the exact same forces that hunted his mother. But public sympathy is a finite resource, and people are beginning to notice a deeply uncomfortable shift. Critics are arguing that Harry is no longer using the past to explain his pain. He is using it to deflect accountability. When questions arise about inconsistencies in their stories, or when reporters ask valid questions about their public claims, the immediate defense is to invoke the tragedy of the past. The narrative is starting to fracture. The public is separating the tragedy of 1997 from the PR disasters of today. People are realizing that questioning the strange circumstances of a birth announcement does not equate to hunting someone down. The realization is dawning that perhaps the chaos surrounding the Sussexes isn't the fault of a relentless media, but the result of their own chaotic, conflicting choices. The shield is wearing incredibly thin. While Harry fights the battles of the past, the British government is quietly preparing for a very turbulent future. We have to look past the tabloid drama and understand the sheer constitutional gravity of what is happening. The British monarchy is not a celebrity reality show. It is a state institution bound by ancient laws and strict parliamentary rules. The line of succession is quite literally the DNA of the nation's history. The letters patent, which dictate who holds titles and who sits in line for the throne, are absolute. If Tom Bower's claims hold even a fraction of truth, and there is any official challenge to the biological lineage of Archie and Lilibet, this stops being a family feud and becomes a matter of state. There are already quiet movements within British political circles discussing the unthinkable. Members of Parliament have openly debated drafting bills that could strip titles from royals who actively damage the institution while residing in a foreign country. If the rumors regarding surrogacy or fabricated timelines were ever proven, it would hand those politicians the exact ammunition they need to act. The children would be legally disqualified from the line of succession, and Harry and Meghan would be stripped of their Sussex titles, reducing them to ordinary citizens in the eyes of the state. It would be an unprecedented historical humiliation. This is exactly why the palace is completely frozen. They are not just managing a rogue prince, they are protecting the constitutional integrity of the crown. If Buckingham Palace were to release a statement defending the births, and later evidence proved the rumors true, the monarchy itself would be implicated in deceiving the British public. They cannot afford to make a single wrong move, so they wait. They watch the chaos unfold from thousands of miles away, letting Harry and Meghan navigate the minefield entirely alone. The silence is deafening. The stakes are impossibly high, and the clock is running out. The couple who risked everything to build a life of freedom are now trapped in a prison of their own design, and the whole world is holding its breath, waiting for the walls to finally cave in. What do you think is really happening behind the walls of Montecito Drop? Your theories in the comments below. Hit that subscribe button and stay tuned because this royal storm is only getting started.